presentations, right? Probably you have done presentations before. When you do a presentation, you always want to, you introduce your presentation, you rehearse before you do your presentation. You want to highlight the important topics. You want to provide a good conclusion that will wrap up the main ideas of your presentation. So in this chapter, we're looking at understanding the process that should be followed in preparing a presentation, the final report, explaining the guidelines available for writing a report that includes graphs and tables, describe how an oral presentation should be made and some of the principles involved. Do you know what's an oral presentation? That means when you talk. And of course, the idea for this chapter is for any marketing research results that you will provide. So if you are, let's say you are researchers and you're doing marketing research for Pampers, then you're going to stand up in front of Pampers people and you will present the research for them. This is what we found. Now, discuss the importance of follow-up with the client. You guys know what we mean by the client? Like Pampers, or the Hania people, or the wider gym.
People that we made the...
Yeah, or the insurance company that you will provide them with. So they should be given to the client in implementing and evaluating the research project. Explain how the report preparation presentation process differ in international marketing research. So we will look into cross countries reporting, how social media facilitates and enhances report preparation, and we will discuss the ethical issues. So that's the learning objective of this chapter. This chapter is, if you remember the steps, we defined the problem, we defined the approach, we formulated the design, we did the field work or collection of data, we prepared, analyzed the data. Now we are on step number 6, preparation and presenting the report. So this is the last step of the 6 steps. Now here is, this step 3 again. You want to address secondary and syndicated data analysis. So, you always, and this is maybe related to your project, you are having the survey, but still you need to go, this survey is part of the 6 steps. And the secondary data analysis becomes always very important because it shows that you have seen what other people are doing and you are building on what's been done. We talked about qualitative, survey, experimental, measurement, questionnaire, sampling, and preliminary plan of data analysis. Now, the importance of report and presentation. For the following reasons, the report and presentations are very important. So why? Number 1, they are tangible products. So you do the research at the end. What is tangible product is that report. Management decisions are guided by this report and presentation. So Pampers now will decide we will do this or we will do that promotion because of the report. The involvement of many marketing managers in the project can be limited to the written report and the oral presentation. So sometimes if the company is big, those managers, they don't know what you did during your focus group or what you did on your survey or how, but the final report is what everyone is going to build on. Importance of report and presentations. Continuation. Here, management decision to undertake marketing research in the future and use particular research supplier, again, will be influenced by the perceived usefulness of the report. So, if you make a useful report, they will come back to you for more research, right? If you don't make a useful report, they will not go back to you. Now, the report will take this process. Your report should include almost all the steps, right? Problem definition, approach, design, fieldwork. You want to provide the data analysis based on what analysis we did in the previous chapter. Your interpretations, conclusions, and recommendations. So you interpret, based on this, after this focus group, and this is what people said. So the interpretation is that, this is the best way to do Pampers, or this is the best way to promote wider gym. And conclusion, the conclusion will say, don't do that, or do that. And the recommendation will be, maybe not only you want to do this, but maybe you want to think about some other things, okay, in addition to what the previous study says. So if we talk about which example you want to use, we go back to the Pampers, the Zabadi, the beauty salon, or the we talked about this beauty salon, and we went how can we promote it. We did the focus groups, and maybe people said in their focus group results that they will prefer to have this menu. Then maybe you interpret the data as that people are not aware of what all of the services provided or what is the good description. So the conclusion is maybe you want to make this menu will be a great idea, and the recommendations is to maybe make some new promotions that explain the services in videos and maybe in different media so people understand the product itself. Report preparation, you start to prepare the report. So you will, this is your report, this is the introduction, this is the body, this is the conclusion. Prepare the oral presentation. You start reading of the report by the client, reading of the report by the client. This is like repeated. And then research follow-up. So after you do the report, maybe you want to do a follow-up. Okay, so maybe the company will take the findings, do an action, maybe there's a follow-up. Now, what is in the report? Now, this is the report format. You need to have a title page. You guys know what's a title page? Letters of transmittal. If you have any letters of authorization. Transmittal is what you are requested to do, what they told you to do. Table of content, list of the tables, if you have any tables, list of graphs, list of appendices. Do you know what's an appendix? Like it comes at the end, so like more like attachment of the report. List of exhibits, if you have any exhibit. Executive summary. Major finding, conclusions, and recommendations. Does this format seems to be reasonable?
What is the major finding?
Yeah, will be here. Executive summary, and then this is like the main. This is like at the beginning. This is like, let's say this is the predatory part, like the what they call like the introduction, the preface. So now the body is really after this. So here's the main body. Okay. So the main body starts here. You start to have the problem definition, background of the problem, statement of the problem. Then you start to look at the approach of the problem. Research design. So this is like from the previous, for the first step, you define the problem and the approach. And here is the research design, how you design the study. The types of research design, type of research design, so we are doing this focus group. The information needs, what information you started to look at. Data collection from secondary sources. So you want to say, okay, we search on the library and this is what we found. Data collection from primary sources. So we actually went and we talked to people, or we did a survey and we distributed. Scaling techniques. So how you did scaling, strongly agree, strongly disagree. Remember the chapter about scaling. Questionnaire development and pre-testing. So this is the questionnaire, this is where we developed it, and this is how we remember when you do this, you want to test it. Like you start with like few people, try to fill it, see if they have any questions on the questions. Sampling techniques. How did you get the sample? Did you do a stratified sample or a cluster sampling, or what quota sampling? And then the actual field work. Maybe you trained people to go collect data. You field work by phone, online, and then you do the data analysis. In the data analysis, you want to talk about the methodology for analysis. Let's say you used chi-square, or you used the ANOVA, or correlation, or regression, or maybe just descriptive, like the ones we looked at, the frequencies. And then the results, so the findings we noticed, females were more keen to, to be light users, and the males were heavy users, like what we looked at last class.
Are they the same as the major findings? They're the same.
What?
The results and the major findings.
Let's see, where's the major findings?
At the beginning.
See, this is like more on an executive summary. So, like, this is like the major findings will be in the executive summary. Executive summary will be like 1 page, okay, maybe 2 pages maximum. So, in the executive summary, you will say, hey, we found that this is big success, okay, and you need to focus on 1, 2, 3. But here will be like elaboration. Here will be all of the data and all of the analysis and all the questions and all what. So here, results for the entire study. Maybe this results, maybe, depending on how big is the report. Let's say the report is 100 pages. Then the major findings would be in the 2-page executive summary. But the results will be maybe 5 or 10 pages in the 100-page results.
Like maybe in the results we asked this question and
Yes, and this is what we found. And these are the results of this question and this question and that questions.
we found that
Yes, so the major findings is like more of a general finding for the whole picture. Maybe the major findings that they should do Pampers promotion with baby oil. Okay, but here it will tell you the baby oil was 70%, and when we tried those other things was 60%, and the third thing was 20%. So here it will go into more of the results of the.
It can be in the executive as a sum up for what is going to be explained later on in the next.
Yes. The executive summary is, let's say, if you are an executive, you have 100 reports. You don't want to read the 100-page report. So you can read the 2-page summary, executive summary, so it will give you what's the real conclusion of this full report. Limitations and caveats. So you also want to, you talk about the limitations. For example, we couldn't have sample from this target population. We couldn't run this test. We didn't have, these secondary data, or we had to make this assumption, or we purposefully decided to do this. So any limitations of the study. Okay, so we couldn't reach to all of these geographical locations. We only did it in these settings. So any limitations. Conclusions and recommendations. So here are your conclusions. And we concluded that this is great, and we recommend that you do this. And then the appended part, which is like the third part or the end, will include the exhibits. So the copy of the questionnaire, any forms, any statistical output. So maybe those, remember the outcome of the SPSS. So maybe you can attach it in the exhibit. And if you have any lists, let's say the list of the people participant or the participating companies, or okay, any questions on those? So those are like the main, this is the report formats. So this is like the table of contents. Okay. So any questions on these? You understand all of these?
The exhibits are about when you visited.
No, exhibit may be like a long table. Let's say if you did research on the internet, so, and you want to show, okay, you found this table, which is, let's say you created this table of all of the references and their sources and the main findings, and it becomes more like an exhibit. Then maybe you want to attach it as part of as an exhibit. Okay. All right. So here we move to this report writing. Report writing, we have readers. A report should be written for a specific reader or readers. For example, the marketing managers who will use the results. So here, maybe in this example, your readers will be like the insurance company managers who will need to read the results of your study. Easy to follow. The report should be easy to follow. It should be structured logically and written clearly. Okay. Next, it says, you want to turn this on? Presentable and professional appearance. The look of the report is important. So you want it to look professional. You don't want it to look like lousy. You want it to be well formatted, font type, font size, if you the use of graphs and pictures, and so you want it to be presentable. Objective. Objectivity is a virtue. It should guide the report writing. The rule is tell it like it is. So you want to say what it is. Don't start to make up stories or copy paste something that is not very relevant to what you did. So it doesn't matter how long as much as the content and the quality and the objectivity of the study. Reinforce text with tables and graphs. So it's important to reinforce key information in the text with tables, graphs, pictures, maps, and other virtual devices. So you want to reinforce text with tables and graphs. Terse. A report should be terse, concise. Brevity should not be achieved at the expense of the completeness. So you want it to be very accurate, to the point. You don't want to make it fancy to the point where it's not really accurate of what happened. So you want to say, okay, we did this research. This is what we did. This is what we found, and this is the conclusion. You don't want to make it too nice to the point where you don't see what really happened. Guidelines for the tables. When you do a table, you want to have every table has a title and number. Okay? Do you guys know what's a title and number? Like this is table 10, number. Every table should have a number, like 1A and title 1B. Arrangements of data items. The arrangement of the data items in a table should emphasize the most significant aspect of the data. So you don't want to have a table that has information that's not very relevant. You want to have some relevant information. Basis of measurement. So the base, you want to always, say, this is in dollars, this is in what unit, people, respondents. Basis of units, measurement should be clearly stated. Leaders, ruling, and spacing. Like you see here, the space, the look of the table is very important. Leader dots or hyphens. Remember, sometimes you see, like when you see on the table of content, it says introduction and then ... 5, page 5, right? Those are like leading dots. So it can, help the eye easily spot. Remember, sometimes when you see numbers, you want the decimal place to be on the same level. So if it's 20.1, 200.1, the decimal will be above, on the same line. You don't want them to be to the right or to the left. Uniform. You want it to be uniform. You want it to be very easily readable, so people can read it easily. Instead of ruling the table horizontally or vertically, white space are used to set off data items. So sometimes you need to use these tabs. Anyone? Do you guys know how to use tabs in Word? Maybe we'll go over it. Yeah, how you use tabs in Word. This way you make sure that all of, if you have an indentation, they're all on the same level. You know, if you have findings, maybe you want to indent them so it appears for a quote. Skipping lines after different sections, so you don't want the text to be all over. Maybe you want to have a space between a section and a section so people know it's a new section. Maybe you want to insert a new page if it's like a new topic. Horizontal rules are often used after the headings. So we will look at some examples of reports to see these. Explanations and comments. You guys know headings. Heading 1, heading 2, heading 3. Anyone don't know what's heading 1, heading 2, heading 3?
It's of the tables.
No, that's like the headings of the topic. Yeah, we will look into this. Now, for example, if you look at this, slide, see this is like heading 1. This is like heading 2, and this is like the text. Do you see? So here you can see it's, you know, the big title is like big, and the subtitle is like smaller, and the text. Designation places over vertical columns are called headings. So maybe, you know, you look at your paper, maybe anything that starts here is like top level topic, anything that starts here is like a secondary topic. Let's say information that cannot be incorporated in the table should be explained by a footnote. Do you guys know what's a footnote? Like those when you say 1 and then you look at what the bottom of the page says 1, you know, this is a reference from, or, you know, any comments or limitations or sources of the data. If the data contained in the table are secondary, the source of the data should be cited. So if you have a full table that you got it from some other website, you need to put the citation right next or below this table. It says source of the table is from this location. Let's say maybe this is here, you've got, this is like a table. Now here the A1, 5B, 4B, this is like from the previous. So here if you want to see, here it says leaders, dots and hyphens, the readability 4A. So if you look at here 4A, these are the dots. Do you see? So here we've got the dots, 5B, which is here, 5B. This is designation places, and the left hand columns are called stub. So this would be like the stubs. Okay. So this is like an example of a table. This is millions. You can see all the numbers are above. Now, do you see the problem with this number? You know, see this 7,000 and this 22. You know, for me, I normally like this. You know, this. Let's say this is like the first column numbers. This 5. It would be better if it is under the 1. Do you see that? So that all the numbers, they are on top of each other. So the decimal point will be on top of each other perfectly. Because here you may confuse. You think this is 22, this is 71, while it's only 7. So, and the same thing here. This number, it becomes like more difficult to read. But so you just want to make sure the objective is readability. It's easy to read, easy to comprehend. Now this may be another example. You know, it show you the numbers. Like this is like on top of each other. You've got, you know, it's easier to see this millions of dollars number. You got the source where it's from. So maybe these are like examples. Okay.